What if I told you that two people could meet in the unlikeliest of places, under the shadow of grief, surrounded by tears and whispered goodbyes, and somehow find a love so powerful it changes everything? That's the story you're about to dive into today, a heartwarming, emotional roller coaster called They Met at a Funeral, and celebrated life together ever after. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to pull you into a tale so unexpected, so full of destiny, that you'll be glued to your screen, wondering how it all unfolds. Have you ever wondered if fate could bring two strangers together at the exact moment their lives need saving? That's the mystery we're unraveling today, and I promise you by the end of this video, you'll have the answer to why you clicked on this story. So grab a cozy blanket, maybe a box of tissues, and let's get started on a journey that'll make you believe in love, second chances, and the kind of magic that only happens when life throws you a curveball. Picture this, a small, quiet town in the heart of America, where the air smells like fresh-cut grass in the summer and the leaves crunch under your boots in the fall. It's the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where the local diner serves the best apple pie this side of the Mississippi, and where secrets don't stay secret for long. But on one chilly November morning, the town is quieter than usual. The church bells are ringing, not for a wedding or a Sunday sermon, but for a funeral. The whole community has gathered to say goodbye to someone they loved, a person who was the glue of this tight-knit place, someone whose laughter used to echo through the streets. And in the middle of this somber moment, two strangers are about to cross paths in a way that'll change their lives forever. You're probably wondering, how could something as heavy as a funeral lead to a love story? How could two people, drowning in their own grief, find something worth celebrating? That's what makes this story so special, and I'm going to walk you through it, step by step, like we're old friends sharing a cup of coffee. I want you to feel like you're right there with them, feeling their pain, their hope, and the spark of something new. Because this isn't just their story, it's a story about all of us, about how life can surprise you when you least expect it. Let me introduce you to our two main characters, but don't worry, I'm not going to spoil too much just yet. First, there's Emily. She's in her late 20s, with a smile that could light up a room but eyes that carry a weight she doesn't talk about. Emily's the kind of person who's always been there for everyone else. Planning birthday parties, helping neighbors with their groceries, volunteering at the local animal shelter. But lately, she's been carrying a secret, something that's been eating away at her, making her question if she'll ever find her place in the world. She's at this funeral because the person they're honoring was more than just a friend to her. They were family, in every way that matters. And as she stands there, clutching a crumpled tissue, she's not just mourning a loss. She's wondering if she's lost herself too. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're standing in a crowd, but you're completely alone? That's where Emily is right now, and I know you've been there too, which is why you're going to connect with her so deeply. Then there's Jake. He's a bit older, early 30s, with a rugged charm and a laugh that's a little too loud for polite company. Jake's the kind of guy who seems like he's got it all together. Successful job, nice car, a grin that makes you think he's never met a problem he couldn't solve. But don't let that fool you. Jake's got his own ghosts, ones he's been running from for years. He's at this funeral for reasons he doesn't want to talk about, and let's just say his presence is raising a few eyebrows. Why is he here? What's his connection to the person they're all mourning? That's part of the mystery, and I'm not going to give it away just yet. But when Emily and Jake's eyes meet across that crowded church, something shifts. It's not love at first sight. Not even close. It's something messier, something real. It's a moment that makes them both pause, like the universe is whispering, "Pay attention. This matters." And you, watching this right now, you're going to want to pay attention too, because this moment is the spark that sets everything in motion. Now, let's talk about why this story is going to hit you right in the feels. We've all been to places where life feels heavy. Maybe not a funeral, but a moment where you're forced to face something you'd rather not. Maybe it was a breakup, a job loss, or just a day when you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. That's what makes Emily and Jake so relatable. They're not perfect. They're not characters in some glossy Hollywood movie. They're real, flawed, and searching for something to hold on to. And when they meet at this funeral, it's not just about them finding each other. It's about them finding a reason to keep going. This story is about love, sure, but it's also about healing, about second chances, and about how sometimes the most life-changing moments come when you're least prepared. I'm telling you this because I want you to know what's at stake here. You're not just watching a cute romance unfold. You're witnessing two people fight for their own happy ending, and I know you're rooting for them already. Let's set the scene a bit more, because I want you to feel like you're standing in that church with Emily and Jake. The air is thick with the smell of lilies and polished wood. The pews are packed with people in black, some whispering memories, others wiping away tears. The organ plays a soft, mournful tune, and outside, the wind is picking up, rattling the stained glass windows. Emily's sitting near the front, her hands folded tightly in her lap, trying to hold it together. She's thinking about all the things she wishes she'd said to the person they're honoring, all the moments she'll never get back. Jake's in the back, leaning against the wall, his arms crossed like he's trying to keep the world at bay. He's not supposed to be here, not really, but he couldn't stay away. And when their eyes meet, it's like the room goes quiet for a split second. You know that feeling when time slows down, and you're not sure why? That's what's happening here, and it's going to make you lean forward in your seat, wondering what's next. I know you're probably thinking, okay, this sounds emotional, but how does a funeral turn into a celebration of life? That's the beauty of this story, and I'm not going to spoil it all right now. But I will tell you this. Emily and Jake's journey is full of twists and turns. There's laughter, there's heartbreak. There's a moment where they both wonder if they're making a huge mistake. There's a secret that one of them is keeping. A secret so big it could tear everything apart. And there's a moment later on where they have to decide if they're brave enough to choose each other, even when the world seems to be against them. You're going to see them struggle, grow, and find something worth fighting for. And I promise, every second of this story is going to keep you hooked, because it's not just about them, it's about you. It's about the times you've taken a chance, the times you've fallen and gotten back up, the times you've found hope in the darkest moments. That's why you're going to watch this video until the very end. Because you want to know how they do it, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a piece of your own story in theirs. Let me ask you something, because I want you to feel like we're in this together. Have you ever met someone who changed your life in a single moment? Maybe it was a friend, a partner, or even a stranger who said something that stuck with you. That's what Emily and Jake are about to experience, but it's not going to be easy. Their story is full of surprises. Some beautiful, some painful. There's a reason they meet at this funeral, a reason that goes beyond chance, and it's tied to the person they're both mourning. Who was this person to them? Why does their loss bring Emily and Jake together? And what happens when they start to unravel the truth about each other? These are the questions that are going to keep you watching, because I know you're curious. I know you want to know how two broken hearts can find a way to beat as one. And I'm going to give you those answers, but you've got to stick with me, because this story is worth it. As we dive deeper into this introduction, let's talk about the themes that make this story so powerful. Love, of course, is at the heart of it. Not the fairy tale kind, but the messy, real kind that makes you work for it. It's about finding someone who sees you, really sees you, even when you're trying to hide. It's about destiny, about how sometimes the universe has a way of putting the right people in your path at the right time. And it's about celebrating life, even when it hurts, even when it feels like the world is falling apart. Emily and Jake are going to show you what it means to choose joy, to choose each other, even when the odds are stacked against them. And I know you're going to love watching them figure it out, because their story is going to remind you of the moments in your own life when you chose to keep going, to keep believing, to keep loving. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but I want to paint a picture of what's coming without spilling all the secrets. Imagine Emily and Jake, after that first fleeting moment in the church, finding themselves drawn to each other in ways they can't explain. Imagine them sharing a quiet conversation outside, the kind where you say more with silence than with words. Imagine them laughing together for the first time, and how that laughter feels like a lifeline. But also imagine the tension, the doubts, the fear that maybe this is all too good to be true. There's a moment, oh, it's a good one, where they're standing under a sky full of stars, and one of them says something that changes everything. What is it? I'm not telling you yet, but it's the kind of moment that'll make your heart skip a beat. And then there's the secret, the one that's been simmering under the surface, waiting to come out. When it does, it's going to shake them to their core, and you're going to be right there, holding your breath, wondering if they can make it through. I want you to feel like you're part of this story, because that's what makes it so special. This isn't just about Emily and Jake, it's about all of us. It's about the times we've lost someone we loved, the times we found someone who made us feel alive again. It's about the moments when we've had to decide whether to take a risk or play it safe. And I know you've had those moments because we all have. That's why I'm asking you to stick with me, to watch this video all the way through, because I'm going to show you how Emily and Jake navigate those moments. I'm going to show you how they turn a chance encounter at a funeral into a love story that's worth celebrating. And I'm going to answer that question you had when you clicked on this video. How do two people find love in the middle of so much pain? You're going to get that answer, I promise, but you've got to stay with me until the end. Let's talk about the tone of this story, because I want you to know what you're in for. It's emotional, no doubt about it. There are moments that'll make you reach for those tissues, moments where you'll feel the weight of Emily and Jake's grief right alongside them. But it's also heartwarming, full of those little moments that make you smile. Like when Jake does something so unexpectedly sweet it catches Emily off guard, or when Emily says something so honest it makes Jake rethink everything he thought he knew. There's humor too, because life is never just one thing. There's a scene where they're trying to navigate a ridiculously awkward situation, and you're going to laugh out loud because it's just so human. The atmosphere is rich and vivid, like you're walking through that small town with them, feeling the crisp fall air, hearing the crunch of leaves, smelling the coffee from the diner. And the conflict? Oh, it's there. It's not just about whether Emily and Jake can make this work. It's about whether they can face their own pasts, their own fears, and the truth that's waiting to come out. As we near the end of this introduction, I want you to feel invested. I want you to care about Emily and Jake, to wonder what's going to happen next. Because this story isn't just about the meeting at a funeral. It's about what happens after. It's about the choices they make, the risks they take, and the moments that define them. You're going to see them struggle with questions we all face. Can you love someone when you're still healing? Can you trust someone when you've been hurt before? And what do you do when the person you're falling for is hiding something that could change everything? These are the questions that are going to keep you watching, because you want to know how they answer them. You want to know if they can find a way to celebrate life together, even after everything they've been through. And I'm going to give you those answers, but not yet. You've got to stay with me, because this story is just getting started. Here's where we leave you, right on the edge of something big. Emily and Jake have just left the church, the funeral behind them, the weight of the day still heavy on their shoulders. They're standing outside, the wind tugging at their coats, and they're talking, really talking, for the first time. There's a moment where their hands brush, just for a second, and it feels like the world stops. But then, out of nowhere, someone calls Jake's name. It's a voice from the past, a voice that makes his face go pale and Emily's heart skip a beat. Who is it? What do they want? And why does it feel like everything is about to change? You're going to have to keep watching to find out, because this is where the story takes a turn you won't see coming. Stick with me because I promise, this love story is worth every second, and the answers you're looking for are just around the corner. The wind whipped through the churchyard, carrying the faint scent of rain and the echo of that voice calling Jake's name, a sound that sliced through the moment like a knife. Emily froze, her breath catching as she watched Jake's face drain of color, his easy confidence replaced by something raw, something unguarded. For a second, it was just the two of them standing there, the world blurring around them, their hands still tingling from that accidental brush. But now, someone was stepping out from the crowd of mourners, a figure cloaked in the same black attire as everyone else, yet somehow standing out, their presence heavy with meaning. Emily didn't know who this person was, but the way Jake's shoulders tensed told her they weren't just another face in the crowd. This was someone who knew him, really. Knew him, and the weight of that recognition hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. You're probably sitting there, heart pounding, wondering who this person is and why they're about to turn this heartwarming love story into something far more complicated. I get it, because I'm right there with you, feeling the same pull of curiosity, the same need to know what's going to happen next. This is where the story gets deeper, where the mystery of Emily and Jake's unexpected connection starts to unravel, and I promise you, every twist is going to keep you hooked, because this isn't just a romance. It's a journey of destiny, full of secrets that'll make you question everything. Let's step back for a moment, because to understand what's happening, you need to know more about Emily and Jake, about the lives they've lived before this fateful day. Emily grew up in this small town, the kind of place where kids ride their bikes down Main Street and the annual fair is the biggest event of the year. She was the girl everyone loved. Cheerful, kind, always ready to lend a hand. But beneath that sunny exterior, Emily's been carrying a weight for years, a loss that shaped her in ways she doesn't talk about. The person they're mourning today, Clara, was her surrogate mother, the woman who took her in when her world fell apart as a teenager. Clara was the heart of this town, a librarian who knew every story. Not just the ones in books, but the ones people carried in their hearts. She had a way of making you feel seen, like your life mattered, and for Emily, losing her feels like losing a piece of herself. That's why she's here, standing in this churchyard, trying to hold it together while the memories flood back. Memories of late-night talks with Clara, of learning to bake her famous cinnamon rolls, of promises made and broken. Emily's not just grieving Clara. She's grieving the life she thought she'd have, the one where she'd figured it all out by now. Have you ever felt like you're stuck, like you're waiting for a sign to move forward? That's where Emily is, and when she looks at Jake, she's wondering if he might be that sign, or if he's just another heartbreak waiting to happen. Jake, on the other hand, is a stranger to this town, or at least, that's what he wants everyone to think. He rolled in a few days ago, his pickup truck parked outside the diner. His city clothes a little too sharp for these country roads. He's charming, sure, with that easy grin and a way of making you feel like you're the only person in the room. But there's a story behind those eyes, one he's not telling. Jake's been running from something for a long time. Maybe a mistake, maybe a truth he's not ready to face. He's good at keeping people at arm's length, at dodging questions with a joke or a change of subject. But being here, at Clara's funeral, is testing that armor. You see, Jake's connection to Clara is a mystery even to him, a thread from his past that he's only just starting to pull. He didn't expect to feel this much, standing in that church, hearing the stories about a woman who touched so many lives. And he definitely didn't expect to meet Emily, whose quiet strength and unguarded honesty are making him question everything he's been running from. When their hands brushed just now, it wasn't just a moment, it was a challenge, a dare to let someone in. And now, with this voice calling his name, that challenge is about to get a lot harder. You're probably wondering, what's Jake hiding? Why does this person's voice make him look like he's seen a ghost? Stick with me, because those questions are at the heart of this emotional, life-changing story. The person stepping toward them is Sarah, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a presence that commands attention. She's not a local, but she carries herself with the kind of confidence that makes you think she knows more than she's letting on. To Emily, Sarah's just another mourner, someone who must have known Clara in some distant way. But to Jake, she's a living reminder of a past he thought he'd left behind. Sarah's voice, when she speaks again, is low and deliberate, each word landing like a stone. "Jake, we need to talk," she says, and there's an edge to it, a history that Emily can't quite place but can feel in her bones. The crowd around them is starting to disperse, people heading to their cars or lingering to share stories about Clara, but Emily and Jake are rooted to the spot, caught in this moment that feels like it could change everything. Sarah's not hostile, not exactly, but there's a tension in the way she looks at Jake, like she's measuring him, weighing his worth. Emily's watching this unfold, her heart racing, because she's starting to realize that Jake's not just a stranger who showed up at the wrong funeral. There's something bigger here, something tied to Clara, to this town, to the secrets they're all carrying. And you, watching this right now, you're feeling that same pull, that same need to know what's going on. This is where the story gets juicy, where the layers of mystery start to pile up, and I know you're not going anywhere, because you need to know what Sarah's about to say. Let's introduce a subplot, because this story isn't just about Emily and Jake, it's about the ripple effects of Clara's life, the way she touched everyone around her. Across town, at the diner where Clara used to hold court over coffee and pie, there's a group of locals gathered, whispering about a letter Clara left behind. It's not a will, not exactly, but a collection of notes she wrote to the people she loved, sealed in envelopes with instructions to open them after her passing. One of those envelopes is addressed to Emily, and another, surprisingly, to Jake. Nobody knows what's in them, not yet, but the rumor is that Clara knew things about people's lives, their secrets, their dreams. The diner's buzzing with speculation, because Clara wasn't just a librarian. She was a keeper of stories, a woman who saw through the masks people wore. For Emily, the idea of that letter is both a comfort and a terror. What did Clara want to tell her? Was it an apology, a confession, or something else entirely? And why Jake? Why would Clara write to a man nobody in town seems to know? This subplot is weaving its way into the main story, adding another layer of intrigue, because those letters might just hold the key to why Emily and Jake met today, and what destiny has in store for them. Meanwhile, back at the churchyard, Sarah's words are hanging in the air, and Jake's trying to keep his composure. Emily's watching him closely, noticing the way his jaw tightens, the way his eyes flick toward the ground like he's looking for an escape. She doesn't know Sarah, but she knows that look, the look of someone who's been caught. She's been there herself, carrying her own secrets, like the reason she's been avoiding her best friend Mia, for weeks. Mia's in the crowd somewhere, probably watching this whole scene unfold, and Emily's dreading the moment they'll have to talk. You see, Mia and Emily have been inseparable since high school, but lately, there's been a distance between them, a rift Emily can't quite explain. It's not just Clara's death, it's something deeper, Something tied to the choices Emily's made and the life she's been too scared to live. This is another thread in the story, another layer of tension, because Emily's not just navigating her connection with Jake. She's navigating her own past, her own fears, and the relationships she's let slip away. You're probably relating to this. Because we've all had those moments where we've drifted from someone we love, or where we've hidden a truth we're not ready to face. That's what makes this story so emotional, so human. It's not just about romance, it's about the messy, beautiful truth of being alive. Sarah's presence is like a spark in dry grass, igniting questions that neither Emily nor Jake are ready to answer. She doesn't say much more, not yet, but she hands Jake a small worn photograph, the kind that's been carried in a wallet for years. Emily catches a glimpse of it, a younger Clara, smiling, standing next to someone who looks a little like Jake. Her heart skips a beat, because suddenly, the pieces are starting to come together, but they don't quite fit. Who was Clara to Jake? Why does Sarah have this photo? And why does it feel like this moment, right here in the churchyard, is about to unravel everything they thought they knew? Jake tucks the photo into his pocket, his face unreadable, and tells Sarah they'll talk later. But Emily's not letting this go. She's curious, maybe even a little jealous, because she felt something when their hands brushed, something real, and now she's wondering if Jake's someone she can trust. You're feeling that same curiosity, aren't you? You want to know what's in that photo, what Sarah's holding over Jake, and how it's all connected to Clara. I'm not going to tell you yet, because this story is about the journey, not just the destination. But I promise, every step is going to pull you deeper into this heartwarming, life-changing tale. As the mourners start to drift away, Emily and Jake are left standing there, the weight of Sarah's interruption lingering between them. The air feels heavier now, the sky darkening with the promise of rain. Emily wants to ask about the photo, about Sarah, about why Jake's here, but something stops her. Maybe it's the way he's looking at her, like he's seeing her for the first time, or maybe it's her own fear of what she might uncover. Jake, for his part, is wrestling with his own thoughts, wondering if he should tell Emily the truth, or at least, the parts of it he's ready to face. There's a moment where they could walk away, go their separate ways, and let this fleeting connection fade. But they don't. Instead, Jake suggests they grab a coffee at the diner, and Emily, against her better judgment, says yes. It's a small choice, but it's the kind that changes everything. As they walk toward Main Street, the town closing in around them like a familiar embrace, you can feel the tension building, the sense that something big is coming. What's in those letters Clara left behind? What's the truth about Jake's past? And what happens when Emily and Mia finally face each other? You're going to want to keep watching, because this love story, this mystery, is just starting to unfold, and the next twist is going to leave you speechless. The diner's neon sign flickered as Emily and Jake pushed through the door, the bell jingling above them like a hesitant welcome. The place was alive with the hum of conversation, the clink of coffee mugs, and the warm buttery scent of fresh-baked pie. Clara's recipe, still served every day like a tribute to her memory. Emily felt a pang in her chest as she slid into a booth across from Jake, the red vinyl squeaking under her. This was Clara's spot, the corner booth where she'd hold court, laughing with locals and scribbling notes in her little journal. Now Emily was here with a man she barely knew, a man whose presence felt both comforting and dangerous, like a song you can't stop humming even though you don't know the words. Jake's eyes were still guarded, the photograph Sarah gave him burning a hole in his pocket, and Emily could sense he was holding something back, something big. You're probably sitting there, feeling the same mix of anticipation and unease that Emily's feeling right now, wondering what's about to unfold in this heartwarming, emotional love story. I know you're hooked, because this is where the mystery deepens, where the stakes climb higher, and where an unexpected twist is about to turn this tale of destiny upside down. Stick with me, because this roller coaster of a romance is about to take a turn you won't see coming, and I promise, it's going to keep you glued to this life-changing story. As the waitress poured their coffee, her curious glance lingering on Jake, Emily tried to shake off the weight of Sarah's interruption. She wanted to ask about the photograph, about why Sarah's voice made Jake look like he'd been punched, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she found herself talking about Clara. Small, safe stories about her surrogate mother's love for books, her knack for remembering everyone's birthday, the way she'd always know when Emily was hiding something. Jake listened, his face softening, and for a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the world. He shared a story of his own, about a time he got lost on a road trip and ended up in a tiny library where a kind woman, maybe someone like Clara, gave him a book that changed how he saw himself. It was vague, carefully worded, but it was enough to make Emily lean in, wanting more. There was a spark between them, undeniable, like the universe was nudging them closer. But just as Emily started to feel like maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something real, the diner door swung open, and Mia walked in. Emily's best friend, her confidant, the one person she'd been avoiding for weeks. And the look on Mia's face when she saw Emily with Jake wasn't just surprise. It was betrayal. You're feeling that tension right now, aren't you? That moment when you know something's about to explode, and you can't look away. This is where the main conflict starts to boil, and it's only going to get more intense. Mia's presence was like a crack in the fragile bubble Emily and Jake had built in that booth. She marched over, her boots clicking on the linoleum, her eyes narrowing as they flicked from Emily to Jake. "So, this is why you've been dodging me?" Mia said, her voice sharp but trembling, like she was trying not to cry. Emily's heart sank. She hadn't meant to push Mia away, but the last few weeks had been a blur of grief and guilt, and she hadn't known how to face her friend. Mia had been close to Clara too, and there was something Emily hadn't told her. Something about the night Clara died, a conversation that left Emily reeling, questioning everything she thought she knew about her surrogate mother. Now, with Mia standing there, her hurt laid bare, Emily felt the weight of that secret like a stone in her chest. Jake, sensing the storm brewing, tried to diffuse it with a charming smile, introducing himself as just a guy who happened to be at the funeral. But Mia wasn't buying it. "You don't just happen to show up at Clara's funeral," she snapped, her words slicing through the diner's hum. "Who are you, really?" The question hung in the air, and Emily saw that same flicker of panic in Jake's eyes, the one she'd seen when Sarah called his name. You're probably wondering the same thing. Who is Jake, and why does everyone seem to know something about him that Emily doesn't? This is the kind of mystery that keeps you watching, because every answer leads to a new question, and this story is far from over. Here's where things take an unexpected twist, the kind that makes your jaw drop and your heart race. As Mia stood there, her arms crossed and her eyes boring into Jake, the waitress returned, not with more coffee, but with a small cream-colored envelope. It was one of Clara's letters, the ones the whole town had been whispering about, and it was addressed to Emily. The diner went quiet, every pair of eyes turning to their booth, because everyone knew what those letters meant. Clara's notes weren't just farewells. They were revelations, truths she'd kept hidden, meant to be shared only after her death. Emily's hands trembled as she took the envelope, her name written in Clara's familiar, looping handwriting. She didn't open it, not yet, but the weight of it felt like it could change everything. Jake, watching her, seemed to tense, his fingers twitching like he wanted to reach for something in his pocket. And then, out of nowhere, he pulled out his own envelope, identical to Emily's, with his name scrawled across it in the same handwriting. The diner gasped, a collective intake of breath, because nobody, not Emily, not Mia, not even the nosiest locals, had expected this. Jake, the stranger, had a letter from Clara too. How could a man who claimed he barely knew her be holding one of her final messages? You're feeling that shock right now, aren't you? That moment when the story you thought you knew flips upside down, and you're desperate to know more. This is the twist that raises the stakes, that makes this love story not just emotional but life-changing, and it's going to pull you deeper into the mystery. The subplot with Clara's letters takes on new weight now, because those envelopes aren't just keepsakes, they're keys to a puzzle nobody's solved yet. Across town, other people are opening their own letters, each one revealing a piece of Clara's legacy. There's Mr. Thompson, the hardware store owner, who finds a note urging him to forgive an old grudge. There's Lily, the teenage barista, who reads words that make her rethink her dreams of leaving town. But Emily and Jake's letters feel different, heavier, like they hold the heart of Clara's truth. Emily's tempted to tear hers open right there in the diner, but something stops her. Maybe it's Mia's accusing stare, or Jake's sudden silence, or the way the whole town seems to be watching, waiting for her to crack. Mia, for her part, is furious, not just at Emily but at the whole situation. "You're keeping secrets from me," she says, her voice low. "And now you're cozying up with some guy who's got one of Clara's letters? What's going on, Emily?" The question stings, because Emily doesn't know the answer herself. She's drawn to Jake, to the way he makes her feel seen, but she's starting to wonder if he's part of something bigger. Something tied to Clara, to Sarah, to the secrets this town has buried. You're right there with her, feeling that mix of hope and doubt, because this story is about more than romance. It's about trust, about facing the past, and about the destiny that brought these two people together. Jake's letter changes everything, because it's not just a coincidence, it's a clue. He doesn't open it either, but the way he holds it, like it's both a lifeline and a bomb, tells Emily he knows more than he's letting on. She's starting to piece things together. The photograph, Sarah's cryptic words, the way Jake seems to know things about Clara he shouldn't. And then there's Mia, who's not backing down. She pulls Emily aside, away from Jake, her voice a fierce whisper. I saw that photo he's carrying, she says. It's not just Clara in it. There's someone else, someone who looks like him, and I think I know who it is. Emily's heart stops, because Mia's words are like a door swinging open to a room she didn't know existed. Who's in that photo? What's Jake's real connection to Clara? And why does Mia think she knows something Emily doesn't? This is where the main conflict escalates, because Emily's not just falling for Jake. She's falling into a web of secrets that could tear them apart before they even begin. The stakes are higher now, because it's not just about their hearts. It's about the truth, and whether they're strong enough to face it. You're feeling that pull, that need to know what's next, because this story is weaving a tapestry of mystery and romance that's impossible to resist. As Emily and Jake sit back down, the unopened letters between them like a ticking clock, the diner feels smaller, the air thicker. Outside, the rain has started, a soft patter against the windows, mirroring the storm brewing inside. Emily's mind is racing, torn between the spark she feels with Jake and the doubts Mia's planted. Jake's trying to keep things light, cracking a joke about the diner's coffee. But his eyes keep drifting to that envelope, and Emily can tell he's as scared as she is. Mia's still there, lingering by the counter, watching them like a hawk. And somewhere, out in the rain-soaked town, Sarah's waiting, her own secrets ready to spill. The twist of Jake's letter has changed the game, raising questions that demand answers. What did Clara know about Jake? Why did she write to him? And what happens when Emily opens her own letter, only to find a truth that could shatter everything she's starting to feel? You're on the edge of your seat now, because this heartwarming emotional love story is building toward a climax that's going to blow you away. But we're not there yet. The tension's still climbing, the mystery's still growing, and the next moment is going to leave you gasping. Keep watching, because this tale of destiny is about to take another unexpected turn, and you won't want to miss a single second. The rain was coming down harder now, drumming against the diner's windows, casting a soft, gray light over Emily and Jake as they sat across from each other, Clara's unopened letters lying between them like unspoken promises. The air in the booth felt charged, every glance and half-spoken word heavy with the weight of what they both knew was coming. Emily's fingers traced the edge of her envelope, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity, while Jake's eyes kept darting to his own letter. His usual charm replaced by a quiet intensity that made her ache to know his story. Mia was still at the counter, her presence a reminder of the rift Emily needed to mend, but right now, it was just her and Jake, two strangers bound by grief and something deeper, something that felt like destiny. The diner's hum had faded to a murmur, as if the whole town was holding its breath, waiting for them to open those letters and face whatever truths Clara had left behind. You're probably feeling that same anticipation, that electric pull of a love story teetering on the edge of revelation, wondering how this heartwarming, emotional tale is going to come together. I'm right there with you, because this is the moment where everything changes, where the mystery unravels, the conflicts collide, and a final, unexpected twist will leave you speechless. Stay with me, because this life-changing romance is about to reach its climax, and it's going to be worth every second. Emily took a deep breath, her hands trembling as she slid her finger under the flap of Clara's envelope. She didn't know what she expected, a farewell, a memory, maybe a piece of advice, but what she found was something else entirely. The letter was short, just a few lines in Clara's familiar handwriting, but each word hit like a thunderbolt. Emily, my heart, it began. You've always been stronger than you know. Don't be afraid to love, even when it scares you. The man with you now. He's part of my story, and yours. Trust him, but ask him about the summer of '98. Emily's breath caught, her eyes snapping to Jake, who was staring at his own letter with a look of shock that mirrored her own. The summer of '98? She was just a kid then, barely 10, spending her days at Clara's library, lost in books while her world fell apart at home. What did that summer have to do with Jake? She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. What's in your letter, Jake? He hesitated, his fingers tightening around the paper, and for a moment, she thought he might bolt. But then he slid it across the table, letting her read the words that had shaken him to his core. Jake, you came back. I knew you would. Tell Emily the truth about who you are. She deserves to know, and so do you. The diner seemed to spin, the rain outside a distant roar, as Emily realized this wasn't just a chance meeting. This was a moment Clara had orchestrated, a thread of destiny woven long before they stood in that churchyard. You're feeling that rush right now, aren't you? That moment when the pieces start to fall into place, but the picture is still incomplete, pulling you deeper into this emotional, heartwarming mystery. Jake's voice was low when he finally spoke, the words spilling out like they'd been trapped for years. He told her about the summer of '98, about a teenage boy who'd run away from a broken home, hitchhiking across the country until he landed in this small town. That boy was him, and Clara was the one who found him, hiding in the library after hours, hungry and scared. She didn't turn him in, she gave him a sandwich, a book, and a promise that he could always come back. Jake hadn't stayed long, just a few weeks, but those weeks changed him. Clara saw something in him, something worth saving, and when he left, he carried that with him, even as he built a life far away, a life where he buried that scared kid under success and charm. But Clara's death brought him back, not just to say goodbye, but to face the boy he used to be. Emily listened, her heart aching, because she knew that summer too. It was the summer her parents split, the summer she lost her mom to addiction, the summer Clara became her anchor. And now, learning that Jake had been there, a shadow in the same library where she'd found refuge, felt like a miracle, or a trap. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice breaking. Jake's eyes met hers, raw and unguarded. "Because I didn't know if I could face it myself." This was the climax, the moment where their pasts collided, where the love story they were building teetered on the edge of truth. You're right there with them, feeling the weight of this revelation, wondering if they can bridge the gap between who they were and who they're becoming. But the conflict wasn't resolved yet, because Mia was still part of this tangled web, and her hurt ran deeper than Emily realized. As Jake finished his story, Mia approached the booth, her face a mix of anger and pain. "You're not the only one with secrets, Emily," she said, pulling out her own letter from Clara. The diner went silent again, the air thick with anticipation. Mia's letter was different, a confession that cut Emily to the core. Clara had known about Mia's feelings for Emily. Not just friendship, but something deeper, something Mia had never dared to say. Clara's letter urged her to be honest, to stop hiding her heart, even if it meant risking their friendship. Emily's world tilted, because she'd never seen it, never realized how much Mia had been holding back. The guilt was overwhelming. She'd been so wrapped up in her own grief, her own secrets, that she'd missed the pain of the person closest to her. And now, with Jake sitting there, his own truth laid bare, Emily was caught between two people who'd shaped her life, two paths that felt impossible to choose. The stakes were higher than ever, because this wasn't just about love, it was about trust, about healing, about facing the truths they'd all been running from. You're feeling that tension, that ache, because this emotional, life-changing story is hitting all the places where your own heart has been tested, and you're desperate to know how they find their way through. The resolution began to take shape as Emily made a choice, not to choose between Jake and Mia, but to choose herself. She stood up, her hands shaking, and spoke to both of them, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. She told Mia she was sorry, that she'd been blind to her friend's feelings, but that she loved her as family, as the sister she'd always needed. She promised they'd talk, really talk, and rebuild what they'd lost. To Jake, she said she didn't know if she could trust him yet, but she wanted to try, because what they'd felt in that churchyard, in that fleeting brush of hands, was real. It was a moment of courage, raw and imperfect, but it was enough to start healing the fractures between them. Mia nodded, her eyes softening, and agreed to meet Emily later, giving her space to figure things out. Jake reached across the table, his hand covering hers, not to claim her but to promise he'd be honest, no matter what. The diner, still watching, seemed to exhale, as if the town itself was rooting for them. This wasn't a fairy tale ending, it was messy, human, and real, a heartwarming resolution that left room for growth, for second chances, for the kind of love that doesn't erase the past but builds on it. You're probably tearing up a little, because this is what makes this romance so powerful. It's not about perfection, it's about showing up, even when it's hard. And then, just when you thought the story had found its footing, here's the final twist, the one that'll leave you in awe. As Emily and Jake stepped out of the diner into the rain-soaked night, a figure was waiting under the awning. Sarah, the woman from the churchyard, holding a small weathered journal. It was Clara's, the one she'd always scribbled in, and Sarah's voice was soft but firm as she handed it to Jake. "She wanted you both to have this," she said. "Read it together." Inside, they found not just Clara's stories, but a letter neither of them had seen, addressed to both of them. It revealed that Clara had known they'd meet, had planned for it, because she'd seen the same spark in them both all those years ago, the spark of two lost souls who could save each other. Sarah, it turned out, was Clara's sister, the one who'd helped Jake leave town back in '98, the one who'd kept his secret all these years. The journal was filled with Clara's hopes for them, her belief that their meeting wasn't chance but destiny, a final gift from a woman who'd loved them both. Emily and Jake stood there, rain dripping down their faces, reading Clara's words under the streetlight, and for the first time, they felt like they could face anything, together. You're feeling that all right now, that sense of wonder at how a single life can ripple through so many others, creating a love story that's as unexpected as it is unforgettable. This story, this heartwarming, emotional journey, leaves you with something to carry forward. It's a reminder that love isn't just about the sparks, it's about the courage to face your past, to be honest, to choose connection even when it's scary. Emily and Jake didn't just find each other at a funeral. They found a way to celebrate life, to honor Clara's legacy by living fully, messily, beautifully. The subplots, the letters, Mia's confession, Sarah's role, wove together to show that every choice, every secret, every moment matters. As you watch Emily and Jake walk down Main Street, their hands intertwined, the journal tucked under Jake's arm, you're left with a sense of hope, a belief that destiny can find you even in